Hey guys, it's me again, Eric here at Mountaintop 9, and tonight we're going to take a look at my top 5 horror films from 1980. I got this idea the other day. I thought to myself, you know what? Wouldn't it be fun to look at a particular decade and just go through each year and just kind of jot down your favorites? I thought that sounded like a fun idea, and I don't know about you, but I thought I'd like to try something new. So why don't you hop up on your knees for old Buck and let's take a good look at 1980. Now I'm also going to point out a couple of honorable mentions because it's pretty hard to look at, especially when we get to 1981. There are so many damn good movies from that year that there's just no way I can limit it to 5. So I have to have some honorable mentions for each of these years. Also, another thing I want to do is I'll probably point out movies that I feel are overrated as well. Opinions are like assholes, as people often say, so I'm sure I'll get comments where people will go, I can't believe you said such and such is an overrated movie, but that's part of the fun of doing these damn videos. So anyway, let's start with my top 5. My number 5 for the year 1980 would be Don't Go in the House. Now, I made a video in the past where I talked about Don't Go in the House a little bit, and so if you watch that video, you already kind of have an overview of how I feel about that film, but let's just talk about it real quick anyway, so you know why it's on the damn list if you didn't see that old video. Don't Go in the House is a very confrontational movie. It's not your typical slasher flick. The main character, Donnie Kohler, he was abused as a kid by his mother, and you see that in flashback sequences. This fucking bitch would take his, his hand and wrist and whatnot and hold it over an open flame at the stove, to burn the sinfulness out of him. One of those types of deals where a mom is very abusive to a child. That kind of sets the tone right away. So this movie is kind of like, you get a little bit of that Psycho type feel. And he lives in a very eerie old house, and that sets a great atmosphere. I mean, this is a really dark movie. If you watch Don't Go in the House, it's not a popcorn munching type flick, you know what I mean? This is the type of movie that delves deep inside this disturbed individual's psyche, and he gets up to some grisly deeds. This isn't a gory movie because Donnie Kohler doesn't go around, slitting throats and decapitating people and shit like that. No, what he does is he builds this room where he takes women and he ties them up and then he burns them alive with a flamethrower. And that's very disturbing, okay? I don't think I need to tell you how sick and twisted that is. And there's one scene in this movie where it shows him do that full on. And just the effects, the way they pull the sequence off, it's fucking mind-blowing. So that really just knocks your damn socks off, and then Dan Grimaldi, the actor that plays Donnie Kohler, he does an excellent job, I think, because he's just very stilted, he seems awkward, he seems like the type of person that's an introvert and would be hard to get along with socially. I mean, there's this dude that he works with that tries like hell to get him to come out and socialize. There's a guy that wants to be his friend, but Donnie keeps pushing him away. He's just this very awkward type guy. And another thing I like about this film is the fact that they do some creepy sequences where you're not sure if there are some ghostly shenanigans going on. You start to wonder, are these dead corpses of Donnie's victims? Is his mother, are they coming back? Or is it all in Donnie's mind? I like stuff like that, so the movie kind of fucks with you, and it's pretty damn creepy. Now, my number 4 would be City of the Living Dead, also known as The Gates of Hell. I've talked about this one before too. You know that I love the atmosphere. I mean, Fulci really dials up the gothic atmosphere in this movie. You get plenty of fog. It has this like New England type setting where it's very dark, foggy, overcast. It just has this feeling of impending doom written all over it. It has a great score that really gets the dread levels built up in your damn system, but it's the show-stopping gore that sends it over the edge. When I first saw that scene where that girl vomited up all of her damn insides, I was like, what am I watching? I mean, I couldn't even believe it. I mean, if you're used to Friday the 13th films and you suddenly are seeing shit like The Gates of Hell, and you're seeing people get their heads drilled through from side to side, and, you know, seeing things just covered with copious amounts of maggots. I mean, there's a part in this movie where the character played by, Giovanni Radici, John Morgan, you know, that scene where he's just kind of walking around and he goes into this house where no one is living, and he sees like a blow-up doll and shit like that, but then he sees like this little, I think it might be a little baby or something. All I know is back in the VHS days, you could barely tell what the hell it was. All you could tell was that it was something dead, and it was just covered in maggots. Well, that's the kind of sick shit that Fulci would have in his films that you wouldn't see in other horror movies. I loved that. I mean, it's one thing when you have a routine gore effect where you see someone get their head blown off or see someone's throat slit, but when you look and you see something just covered in maggots and the camera just zooms up on it, it kind of turns your stomach. I mean, it's not the kind of thing you want to be looking at if you're eating a tub of popcorn soaked in butter. You know what I mean? So anyway, Gates of Hell, just one of my favorites. I can't get enough of it, and as I've said a million times, Fulci was the greatest horror director that ever fucking lived. Now, my number 3 would be Cannibal Holocaust. And where do I even begin with this film? The thing that I've always appreciated about this movie is it feels like it's making a statement. It feels like it's just deep. It's powerful. There's like a drama that seethes beneath the surface. And that score, I love the score to this movie because that main theme that you get at the beginning and at the end of the movie, it sounds very uplifting in nature, but that's very deceiving because when you get to the end of this movie and you get through that last, you know, just those final torturous sequences as they're watching the found footage, it takes on this new visceral strength when you hear that music because you're hearing that, you know, that uplifting theme and everything, but it has this tinge of sadness and sorrow about it because you see all this pain that was inflicted. Just the effects in here. There is some sick, twisted shit. Everyone knows that iconic image of that big steak, you know, going up through that girl and out her mouth. It's really gruesome, and you know, that one dude is just such an asshole when he's standing there looking up at this display and he's got like a smirk on his face, but then when he realizes that the camera's rolling, you know, he wipes it off his damn face real quick. That dude's such a douchebag. But yeah, Cannibal Holocaust, you got great gore sequences in here. The effects are pretty convincing. Just the way it's shot. I love the whole found footage, you know, technique that they used in this movie for the time. That was pretty damn original. It wasn't something that was commonplace. And yeah, man, Cannibal Holocaust, powerful movie and definitely deserves to be on my top 5 for 1980. Alright, now we're on to my number 2 pick, and at number 2, I'm gonna put Maniac. And of course, just like Don't Go in the House, I've talked about this movie before at length and in detail, but we'll do an abbreviated run-through. We all know about Frank Zito, the sick character in this, just like Donnie Kohler in Don't Go in the House. This poor bastard got abused as a kid by his mother. She would lock him in the closet, you know, she would scar him, do various things, and now he's all fucked up. And he's grown up, and what he likes to do is he likes to take to the streets at night. He likes to find unsuspecting women, he murders them, and then he takes their scalps. He cuts their scalps off with a razor, and he takes those scalps home, and he puts them on mannequins in his little dwelling that he lives in. So there's these bloody mannequins in his fucking room laying in bed with them. They have blood dripping from the scalps down their face. It's really sick, twisted stuff. And the show-stopping gore effects in this by the legendary Tom Savini. You got people getting their heads blown off. You got numerous scalpings. You got people getting stabbed. You got people getting strangled, blood coming out of their throat. Just all kinds of heinous shit goes down in this movie. Also, you got the great score by Jay Chataway. It's very moving. It's sad. It makes you feel sorry for this fucking malicious maniac. But the way this movie unfolds, and with the sad score, and with Joe Spinell's performance, he really gives the character this this sad, pathetic sense. And it just makes you feel sorry for the poor prick. So, yeah, so Maniac, is my number 2. But my number 1, you want to know what it is? You want to know what my number 1 is? My number 1 is The Shining from Stanley Kubrick. Now, years ago, The Shining wouldn't have been my number 1. I would have had Maniac as my number 1. But you know what? Over the years, I've matured, and I've watched The Shining more and more, and I realize what a goddamn masterpiece it is. We all know Jack Nicholson's performance as Jack Torrance. Even before he arrives at the Overlook Hotel, you can tell he's unhinged, and it just doesn't take long for his mental stability to just deteriorate. And you see the rapid loss of any semblance of sanity that he once had. And just, there's so many classic scenes. Like when he's sitting there trying to type his fucking story, he's trying to work, and Wendy comes in and she interrupts him to tell him about the goddamn weather or something. And he turns to her and he says, "Look, I'm fucking typing. If you see me doing this, if you hear this, then you know I'm working, and if you come in here and interrupt me, I'm gonna have to start all over again." And he tells her to get the fuck out of here. You know, when he does that sequence, first of all, it's funny, just the way it's handled and everything. I mean, just the camera, the way you get that reaction shot from Wendy standing there, and you can see her face just fall. She's like, you know, you can tell that she's like shook to the core. She's like, holy shit, look at him. He's going off the deep end. All I did was come in here to tell him, you know, that we're going to be getting some snow or something like that. And, you know, of course he's going off. And it's just all of the hidden things you can see in this movie. All the symbolism, the bleeding elevator. I mean, the trailer for this movie, if you've ever seen the trailer, where it just shows the elevator and then it shows just that river of blood coming out. And then the music. This movie has the perfect score. It's dissonant, obscure sounding stuff. It's the kind of stuff that if it's in the middle of the night and you have music like this turned up loud, it's going to get under your skin and put you ill at ease. You know, if you've ever seen the introduction to Tales from the Dark Side, you know that opening scene with all the shots of the forest and the covered bridge and the farmhouses and all that stuff? You know, that's serene type of setting. I mean, that should be nice, but just that music on its own gives you a ghastly feeling. It makes you look over your shoulder. If you're sitting in a dark room watching that Tales from the Dark Side intro, you're going, holy shit, there's something going on beneath the surface here. Well, that's what The Shining does. You can just be looking at the hallways in this movie, but just the way the shots are composed, the way the score is masterfully done, you are ill at ease. And, you know, that old lady in the bathtub with all that shit on her skin, and Jack goes in there and he thinks it's this young hot chick, and he starts making out with her, and all of a sudden he realizes that it's this ugly, fucking despicable looking old lady, and she's coming at him. And then you have people dressed up like animals and shit. You're like, where the hell did that come from? I like that kind of stuff that's thrown in there, and you're like, huh? What did I just see there? What's that supposed to mean? So that's what I like about The Shining. This movie is like a good banana split. You got lots of nice little nifty morsels to bite into. So much flavor in this damn movie. And just the perfect setting. I love that wintertime stuff. I love the isolation, and I love the Overlook Hotel. I would love to go and spend some time there. That's my kind of place. So The Shining is my number 1. Alright, now let's talk about some additional films that didn't make it to the list, but they deserve to be spoken about from the year 1980. First of all, let's talk about Humanoids from the Deep. I love this one. It's fun, the monsters are cool. You know, this may be a cheesy monster flick, but it's just one that you can put on and chill out and have fun with. And I love the nude scenes in here. I mean, there's this scene with this one girl where she's topless. I mean, that's probably actually my favorite element of Humanoids from the Deep. It's all the topless chicks. So you gotta love that. That's a good one. Another one I want to mention is The Fog. Now, this movie is a mixed bag for me. The thing about The Fog is, my single favorite element is the score from John Carpenter. It's one of his best. It really is. I would dare say that it's almost or maybe as good as his score to Halloween. And that opening shot there where you first see, you know, the ocean there and that beach and everything, and you hear his score, oh, That's really cool stuff. But overall, The Fog is kind of anticlimactic in a way. There's just not enough oomph to the damn movie. I feel like, you know, Carpenter did this a lot back in the early days of his career, where he would make movies and there just wouldn't be enough visceral violence. You know, you needed that extra dose of, you know, that's just what you needed in these movies. It just wasn't enough on its own. I mean, he's a great director and everything. I love his scores. I love his shots, but you needed a little bit more violence. It needed to be ramped up. I feel like if The Fog would have been a bloodier movie, it'd be much better, man. Can you imagine like that opening murder sequence where there's guys out on the boat where they first see that phantom ship there in the fog and then they get killed and everything, but those kills are, they don't pack a punch. And to think that those were scenes that were added in to dial it up a little bit more, and they're still not violent enough. The Fog should have been a bloody movie. It really should have, and I feel like, you know, just like we were talking about with City of the Living Dead, you know how that movie has great dark atmosphere, but it's also violent to the hilt. And that's what makes it, it's just like, oh man, this is a hardcore horror flick. The Fog, I wish would have been the same way. I wish it would have had some more bloody murders. So, mixed bag. I love it for the score and I love the atmosphere, but man, just not violent enough. Now, let's talk about Friday the 13th for a minute. My whole thing with Friday the 13th is I love it as a franchise. It's fun. I grew up on the Friday the 13th films, and you know, they're a great part of my childhood, and I still love them. But my favorite Friday the 13th films are the sequels. The first one doesn't do a whole lot for me, other than the fact that it has some cool Tom Savini gore effects in there, like the arrow through the neck and you see the blood spurting up, you know, stuff like that. That's cool, but overall it's kind of a boring movie. It really is. It's nothing special. Sean Cunningham isn't like the greatest director. There's nothing flashy about this movie. It's just pretty routine. And it doesn't even have the best atmosphere, in my opinion. And I've never really been a big fan of Harry Manfredini's scores either. I think it's okay, but it's nothing that gives me the shivers, you know what I mean? I don't go, woo, that score by Harry Manfredini, oh, I'm not going out in the dark alone tonight. No, give me a fucking break. It's good, but it's not that damn good. So, Friday the 13th, it's a rite of passage. It's an important horror movie, don't get me wrong. It's a milestone flick, and it kicked off a tremendously successful franchise. But, it's not the bee's knees. And I'll tell you what, I love the sequels even more. Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4, all three of those are way better than Part 1. I mean, come on, in Part 2 we got Jason doing the killing, and that's where it's at, my friends. We want to see Jason. And I like the fact that in Part 2 and 3 and in 4, they kind of keep Jason in the shadows more. And there's a little bit more suspense in those movies, especially in Part 3. I think Part 3 has some really creepy shit. Another movie that I want to mention as being pretty kick-ass is Zombie Holocaust, also known as Dr. Butcher, MD. I have always loved this movie. From the first time I rented the Paragon VHS of Dr. Butcher and watched it, this movie's just fun. It's non-stop fun. In fact, if someone said to me, would you rather watch Fulci's Zombie or Dr. Butcher, I would probably pick Dr. Butcher. It just is really just kind of non-stop entertainment. There's good gore. I like the zombie designs in here. Also the fact that you get some cannibal action going on. It's a lot of fun. So Dr. Butcher's on here for sure. Alright, I got 4 more honorable mentions for you, and I'm just going to throw out the titles real quick so this video doesn't get too damn long. Fade to Black, To All a Good Night, Nightmares, and House on the Edge of the Park. Alright, now that we've got the honorable mentions out of the way, let's talk about a couple movies that I feel are tremendously overrated from the year 1980. First of all, Christmas Evil has to be one of the most annoying movies I've ever sat down and watched. And I know this movie has its fans, but for the love of Christ, I can't figure out why. I don't even think it's not even a damn horror movie. And it's very misleading because I remember when I was a kid renting the Genesis Home Video VHS release of this movie. And on the cover, it had this Santa Claus. And it said, he knows who's been naughty. He knows who's been nice. He does doesn't care. I thought, hey, that sounds damn cool. They made it look like a straight-up slasher flick with the Santa Claus, and I remember renting it, watching it, and going, huh, this is more like, I guess if I want to watch Taxi Driver or something like that, I'll rent Taxi Driver. What the fuck is this shit that I'm watching right here? But I'll tell you what, it sticks with me. I remember being bummed out and going, are you serious? The ending alone, give me a break. I'm not going to go into detail about the ending just in case someone's watching this and they've never seen it. I don't want to spoil it because it's really something you need to see with your own damn eyes. I'll give you two right now that I don't care about, okay? Terror Train and Prom Night. For some reason, these are two slasher movies that you always see people going on and on about like they're good or something. Just because they were a little bit bigger budgeted for a slasher film, and they both have Jamie Lee Curtis in them. I don't give a fuck that Jamie Lee Curtis is in either one of these movies. That doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. It needs a little bit more than that. Neither one of these movies have a great atmosphere. Neither one of them have great gore. They are not memorable films to me. But I mean, I've seen it before on Facebook where someone will share that they're watching Prom Night, okay? And it'll be a person that has a huge horror collection. They have all kinds of movies to choose from and they're sitting and watching Prom Night. Why? Why would you put that on? I mean, I'd rather watch Honeymoon Horror or Unhinged. I mean, holy shit, even stuff like Iced or Blood Frenzy or Psycho Cop 2. You just insert random slasher flick into the fucking space. Just any slasher movie, alright, would be better than spending your time watching Prom Night or Terror Train. I mean, who gives a fuck about those two movies? Well, evidently plenty of people do, so it's just my opinion, folks. I know it's hard to take. I know people love those two movies, but they just don't do anything for me. I think it's boring, middle-of-the-road, mainstream slasher stuff. Another one that I don't like, and I know this is gonna break a lot of people's hearts, but Mother's Day. I just, it's okay. I don't actively dislike, I guess I wouldn't say that I actively dislike this movie. I mean, I'd rather pop in Mother's Day and watch it any day of the fucking week over some shit like Prom Night or Terror Train. Don't get me wrong. I like it in the sense that at least it's got this strong exploitation vibe going. I mean, this movie isn't the kind of movie that beats around the bush, you know? It doesn't care about your delicate sensibilities and everything, but it's just kind of an obnoxious movie. Another one that I feel like is a mixed bag is Motel Hell. This is a movie that could have been so much more, but unfortunately, it just kind of couldn't make up its mind about what it wanted to be. I mean, do you want to be a fucking in-your-face horror film? Or do you want to be a black comedy? Do you want to go for dark humor and just kind of twisted, warped shit, but more in the vein of a comedy with horror elements? It doesn't make up its damn mind, so it's kind of a hodgepodge of things. It had the potential to be extremely creepy, and there still is some creepiness here and there. I love the whole idea of how he's burying the people out in the ground, and you know, he cuts their voice box out so they can't talk, so you just hear that nasty sound emanating from their throats. You know, he has a whole garden of people out there. And then he's tying rope to their neck and pulling them out and yanking and cracking their neck. I mean, that's gruesome shit and everything, and it's very absurd to boot. But, you know, and it should have just milked more of that kind of shit. I would have liked to have seen him with that pig head on more often and running around with the chainsaw a little bit more. Just like I said, The Fog is a mixed bag. I also think Motel Hell is a real mixed bag. There are things I really like about it, but then there are also things where I go, are you fucking serious? So yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what your 5 favorite horror films of 1980 are. And I'll tell you what, when we get to the next year, when we get to 1981, 1981 has even more great titles. I mean, 1981, things really explode as far as quality horror is concerned. So just wait till we get to that video. I'm going to go through and do each year from that decade. Every single year, all the way through 89, I'm going to tell you what my favorite horror films from each year are, and I'll also talk shit about the movies from each year that I don't like as well, because I have fun doing that. I think it's a very cathartic exercise to engage in, you know, talking shit about the movies you don't like. That's just as fun as talking about the movies you love, in my opinion. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and guess what? I'll see you again next time.